What's happening, Patreon family? Great to see you all. I am reporting live on a Sunday morning. Bonnet life. Why? Because it actually kind of goes hand in hand with our full moon reading that we're about to have right now. So, July 21st, and you know, there's always that varying shadow, pre-shadow and post-shadow phase that we talk about, but I was looking it up and making sure that all astrological traditions were in agreement, because you know sometimes they disagree, unless you are throwing in the 13th zodiac sign, in which case it gets a little tricky. But the full moon is currently going to be in Capricorn, and part of the reason why I say this has a lot to do with why you are seeing me in a bonnet, hoodie, you know, anti-inflammatory tea and everything on deck, you know, essentially seeing me in the raws, because one of the downloads that I got was this is a period of everyone showing up and being stripped of anything that inhibits you. In other words, stripping you of your ego. You got to come up and show yourself off as you are. Now, typically, I don't wear a lot of makeup or anything like that. When I step out, I like to step out. But, you know, I am showing you all me literally like fresh out of bed. All right. And so, as you move forward and you start to traverse in this world during this period, it's the death of the old you, the death of the version of you that you thought you were, the person that you thought you were becoming, but it wasn't quite actualizing. You know, the math wasn't mathing, but you were still fighting it and hoping it was going to be that way. If it's not you, maybe it was a romantic relationship or any type of relationship that where the math wasn't mathing, and it's just, I'm trying to force this to happen. And all the powers that be, all the cosmic bureaucracy felt like it was just, nope, not happening. Nope, not happening. Despite whatever you may have tried. It was I don't like the word humble. It was trying to get you to relent, so that way you can literally step into your own power. Because what you didn't realize was that you were becoming a slave to a very toxic cycle. Something that was not actually going to be sustainable, and that was not going to be for the greater good of all involved. Not just for you. So, that being said, this is the period for you to start divorcing yourself from that which no longer serves you. I just put up my blog post preview for you all for Venus and Underworld, and what that meant for all of us. I did a retrospective piece on it, because during the time that it was happening, life was lifing and my hands were handing, so I wasn't really able to type, and the voice dictation that I did, I didn't really care for it. So I went back and did a retrospective look, so that way you can read it and say, oh, like this tracks. Now I understand why I was going into that, or why I felt the need to lean into this, or maybe to let go of this. And then I gave you some really helpful tips, hopefully, as to how you can traverse that energy. But we're talking about Venus and Saturn, to me, actually have a pretty synergistic relationship at times. They both believe in working hard, toward what you want. Venus is about working in flow, so that way you can move into the luxuries of life with ease, simplicity, and efficiency. This is something that we see in the signs of Libra. We see that, which is ruled by Venus. We see it in Taurus. I will give them that, because they are all about the acquisition of things, right? So this is why Taurus makes an amazing real estate agent, really great at sales, really great at anything that involves the acquisition of a tangible good. But if you ever notice, when you look at Venus ruled signs, so Libra and Taurus, if you ever notice that they have a method to their madness, they're not afraid to lean in and put in the elbow grease to actually move towards something. But they know how to relax. In many cases, if you go into the home of a Taurus especially, it looks like somebody came in there from Better Homes and Gardens, and it's just like, it is crown molding, it is canopy beds, it's the finest mattresses with the softest pillows. Everything feels warm and inviting. It's like they lull you into this beautiful trap with all the amazing snacks. This is why I could never be with a Taurus male. Well, one of the reasons I could never be with a Taurus male. Because personally, I lean toward masculine energy in male bodies. Just putting that out there. But, that is why I couldn't be with a Taurus. I would wind up on my billion-pound life because I have yet to meet a Taurus who did not know how to cook. And I understand this is about a Capricorn full moon, okay? But I just got to throw that out there. Y'all rocking with me. This is not going to go on YouTube. I'm about to edit all this out. But y'all are family, so y'all get the goofier side of me and all the tangents, okay? So that is why I could not wind up with a Taurus. Aside from the fact that my dad's a Taurus, and we got like a 36-hour window on like when before it's a fixed sign thing, okay? When it comes to Libra will kidnap you in style. Every Libra that has ever been like, come on, loser, we're going on an adventure, right? Pick me up in a luxury car, send me a Uber or a Lyft that's like Uber XL, where it's nothing less than like somebody's high-end SUV. I feel like I'm being trained, like I got a motorcade behind me. You're going to the best restaurants, drinking top shelf everything. They insist on you having an experience. That's the biggest thing about this, okay? And I'm saying this because as we lean into a Capricorn full moon, Capricorn being ruled by Saturn, even, and Saturn's going through this other stuff, as you saw in my last blog post. Venus got to where she is because she worked for it, right? So Venusian energy is not scared of hard work. What they are is big on what am I working toward, which will help you during this Capricorn full moon, because if you're having to strip yourself of an ego or an older version of yourself, right? This is the upgrade. You have to ask yourself, what's my North Star now? What's my moral compass? What's my foundation at this point? It's not an existential crisis. It's, can you see yourself clearly? Capricorn is a sign that is about the brass tacks. If you know anybody who's got a Mercury in Capricorn, and I'll put that out there, everybody under my roof, Mercury in Capricorn. And 2 of us are in our 40s. One is potentially perimenopausal and the other one is going through puberty. Fun times. So, okay, very direct household, right? And no one in my household is not neurodivergent. We're all firing differently in beautiful ways. Nothing bad, just saying, ain't nobody holding no punches around here. And Capricorn communication is just that. It is brass tacks. The difficult part about that is that it can come across as being tactless, being rude, being devoid of any form of feeling. And that's actually not the case. Capricorn energy loves you enough to tell you where you're messing up. But it will also love you back enough to tell you this is where you can actually course correct, right? Well-resolved Capricorn energy will offer a solution, right? They give some harsh criticisms, but they give some bomb solutions as well. And they have that characteristic in common with Aquarius, because Aquarius takes that up to a whole new level. But we'll talk about that later. Capricorn energy right now is also asking you, and I know I'm trying not to channel in a certain direction right now. I will get to that in a second, but I will just let you all know the Devil card, not just because it's the card linked to Capricorn, but the Devil card is what I'm seeing stamped all over this reading, okay? Capricorn loves you enough to give you boundaries, especially around your time. So this is going to be a period where you need to ask yourself, where are you flowing? Like, where's your time flowing? Chi flows where the mind goes. You've all heard me say that before. That's something that we learned in my training in TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. Chi flows where the mind goes. So wherever you're allowing your mind to flow, that's where you're going to spend your time. That's where you're going to spend your efforts. That's what you're going to try to sustain. That's what you are giving your essence to and breathing life into. That involves aspects of yourself. So if your mind is flowing, your mind is flowing into your health and wellness. Okay? So now you're pouring energy into your physical vessel, your mental vessel, your spiritual being, right? Making sure that they're optimized. But that also means that where the mind is not going, she may or may not be flowing. So if you're focused on your health and wellness, do you really have time right now to focus on fixing and solving problems for other people? Maybe, but definitely not to the same extent that in the same amount that you were able to before. The ratios are different, right? Perhaps this is a period for you where you're focused on your family. Maybe your mind needs to flow into pouring a little bit more love and chi into your familial dynamics. Maybe you've been working a little bit more than usual. Maybe you've been under the weather. Maybe you've just had a lot that you've been navigating emotionally, and maybe you've been feeling a little bit distant rather. This is a beautiful time for you to consider plugging back into your foundation. Capricorn energy is all about foundation. So if you're plugging into your family, do you have time to go clubbing? That ratio don't look the same. Do you have time for escapism? Right? Do you have enough chi for you to be as selfish maybe as you may have been, or I should say self-preserving? You could. You got to figure out what that balance is. The other beautiful thing about this full moon is that it's calling into question how you view balance. I know that that's something that most people tend to wait for Libra season to talk about, but there's no way to talk about a Capricorn influence in anybody's chart and not talk about balance. One thing about Capricorn, it is all about the acquisition of time. So the last thing you do is waste anyone or anything that is ruled by the sign of Capricorn's time. You don't do it. It's the one thing that they value the most next to their bag. Because you don't get it back. You can make more money if you got more time. Do you got more time? You know, for that reason, you will note that this is a time where you're asking yourself, or you may be going into a spiral of, why did I waste my time with this person? Why did I waste so much time trying to get this degree and I'm not even using it? Why did I spend so much time? Why did I spend so much time? Why did I spend so much time? Why do I spend so much time? And it's because it likely is leading you to a firmer foundation in whatever the greater cosmic goal is that you have in mind, and that spirit may be co-creating with you. I don't feel like there's anything that is truly a waste of time. It's all about how you perceive, all about your perception and how it fits into your world and your orbit. We always come in contact with people, places, things, all these different nouns. And every now and then we're like, why do I still have this person's card? It's been 10 years 10 years ago, right? Who even uses like solid business cards anymore? And then all of a sudden you got an opportunity that they would be perfect for, their skill set would be perfect for. Right? I have people from, like, I always tell my son, you go to college for the Rolodex. You don't go to college necessarily just for the higher education. Like, it helps, but like, there are people I haven't seen or like physically laid eyes on in almost 20 years. Actually, yeah, it'll be 20 years next year. They can call me, I can call them. DM, hey, I got a quick question. Can I pick your brain? Hey, I know, I see that you're in this industry. Do you mind if I make a referral your way? Right? So, try not to view it as time wasted. They're lessons learned that took time to cultivate. Let's reframe that just a little bit. I've had to do that myself. especially regarding my health as of late. So let's get into that, all right? Let's talk about the medical astrological implications of this. Why? Because I am a medical astrologist. That's right, people. It's actually on my website now. I stopped fighting it myself. See, that was one of the things I had to do, was stop being bound to one way of thinking about being a doctor. If I'm going to train y'all, I have to fully embody what it means to be a doctor, which is a teacher. Docere means teacher in Latin. Therefore, I need to docere my butt and embrace all the tools in my arsenal. So, and constantly sharpen those skills and help you sharpen yours. So, medically, astrologically speaking, let's take a sip. It's not caffeinated, but let's see if this helps. And if you're wondering what I'm sipping on, I made homemade golden milk tea. So, fresh turmeric, fresh ginger, black peppercorn. It's a little bit of licorice in there. Because allergy season here is real, and licorice is a wonderful antitussive, which means that it stops coughing. It's also an anti-spasmodic, so it prevents bronchospasms. And it's also anti-inflammatory, so it acts in a sense like a steroid, because it's actually able to calm and not shrink, but reduce swelling and inflammation of the vocal cords and the respiratory tract. So, with Austin allergies, it's needed. That being said, the respiratory tract is something that you want to actually pay attention to. Why? No, Capricorn does not rule the respiratory tract, but guess what it does rule? Skin. And in traditional Chinese medicine, skin is actually the outshow, right? So it is the outward manifestation of what lets you know what's happening in your respiratory tract, as well as your alimentary tract, meaning how you release stuff. Lung, right, which lung meridian, respiratory tract, is cousins or paired with your colon, right? Think about it. They both excrete waste. So it's not uncommon for people who are asthmatic to also have chronic constipation. It's not just because of the medication. It's not uncommon for people with chronic constipation and asthma, or any type of lung ailment, cystic fibrosis, COPD, emphysema, things of that nature, to have really dry skin, dry scaly skin. It's not just because of being dried out by oxygen and other factors or medications. You see a specific type of acne, right? And it's usually very cystic, right? Very pussy. And it's usually very deeply embedded in the skin, right? A lot of people that I know who have asthma or respiratory, or prone to respiratory tract infections, also have very cystic hormonal acne when they have their cycles, and they wind up on Accutane for it. I've seen where people have actually benefited from acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, sometimes colonics, probiotics, absolutely. Prebiotics, usually, if you get good quality, apologies, y'all. I'm trying not to be in a flare up. A little bit of brain fog hit me. One sec. Let me be human. And thank you for holding space for me to be so. If you get the proper multivitamin, many of them actually have good prebiotics in them. Or if you were eating as freshly as possible as you can in the United States, you can actually get a lot of good prebiotics through your diet. So putting that in there, right? Because if your gut is healthy, studies have shown your brain is healthy, your skin is healthy, all the things. Capricorn needs to be mindful of the skin. I've also known for that reason, or noticed for that reason, that again, because skin lets us know what's happening, especially in your respiratory tract, that many Capricorns do have horrible chronic allergies. So I'm going to say that having like the neti pot, saline, just like the regular cans of saline that you can use to clear out your nasal passages before bed and when you first wake up, really helps with a lot of that, especially nasal congestion. Spiritually, you could think of that as clearing out what you've taken in through the day, right? Because you all know I love some salt water. Can't get, don't have your Florida water and your other provisions. Salt water until you can get home and shower off, baby. It's amazing. Do the same thing for your nose before you go to bed and when you wake up. It's essentially saying, okay, I'm starting fresh. I'm starting anew. I'm clearing things out. I'm purifying. It's a purification process, which goes hand in hand with purifying and releasing old stagnant energies, old stagnant ways of being, and you are no longer that like bound to that version of yourself, which is what we're navigating in this particular full moon cycle. Capricorn also rules the joints, so it's body's own 10, right? It's how you work, right? Your midheaven in your chart is in the 10th house. 10th house is Capricorn. So how you move, your foundation, your structure, skeletal system, right? Your joints, your ligaments, tendons in particular, which in Chinese medicine falls under the liver meridian. Liver, gallbladder, focusing most on liver. Okay, be mindful of any deficiencies in red blood cell count, bone marrow, even though this is more so considered kidney. Your joints and or bones are also linked to this, right? So Capricorn rules your skeletal system. Bone marrow is produced in your bones. So everything's kind of interconnected, right? Down to a cellular level. Capricorn energy is a perfect time for you to see what is going on with you on a foundational level. Perfect time for you to go have checkups with healthcare providers, for you to establish a new baseline with a new practitioner if you need to switch. It's a great time for you to do a metabolic panel in order for you to see, where everything is right now, so that way you can continue to track and move forward with your health. This is a great time for you to supplement with anything that's going to provide joint and bone support. Whatever is best for you. I know that some people are restricted by diet because you may be plant-based, you may be keto, you may be low carb, whatever it is. Support your joints, support your bones, support your tendons and ligaments. There's varying levels of research about whether or not collagen helps or it doesn't. I submit to you that I personally take a collagen supplement, and I feel that I'm benefiting. So I'm just going to put that out there. Additionally, with this, you also want to be very mindful about what it means for you to, verbally, what are you getting out? Meaning, the spells you're casting. Capricorn rules the teeth. And something really quickly that goes hand in hand with this, if you are noticing that you're having dreams that involve your teeth, namely if they're falling out, traditionally teeth falling out or rotting or decaying is a sign of illness or sickness, either of yourself or those closest to you. So if you have a dream and you see somebody else's teeth falling out, it means that they're likely either ill or someone near them is going to be ill. If they are still able to regrow their teeth, usually in the dream, that means that they'll recover relatively quickly. If they fall out and you don't see them like regenerating or anything like that, it could mean chronic illness. Just putting that out there because that's what the spirit just told me to put out there. But your teeth in waking state in the 3D actually do teach you a lot about your own health. If you're pregnant and you have very weak, brittle teeth, they'll let you know that your baby is likely to have low birth weight because you are deficient in calcium and other minerals. 1 second, y'all. All right, thanks. I didn't want to blow my nose in your face. That was horrible. That would be horrible. But yeah, in waking state, if you are having issues with your teeth, especially if you are pregnant, indicative of you having a calcium deficiency, which also can be a sign of low birth weight for your baby. So just putting that out there, something to be mindful of and to check. If you're not having any issues with that, but you're having maybe your teeth are a little bit more sensitive, or you find that they, even you're not pregnant and you still having issues, it could also be your thyroid. Your thyroid actually has a lot to do with dental health, believe it or not. Your thyroid controls so much in the body. So just putting that out there too. But Capricorn rules the teeth. So to be mindful of the spells that you're casting, because your teeth and your tongue are what are used in order to speak, in order to cast your spells. You don't want the improper utterances of negativity. I try not to say negative, y'all know that, but you don't want foul things to defile your teeth, because over time, energetically speaking, you're weakening your ability to put out there what actually deserves to be out there. Right? Whatever you put out there comes back to you. Like, I don't care how many fold it is. Every tradition's got their thing about it, but everything has an equal, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So every word that you put out there for yourself, against yourself, and, off the hip towards somebody else, whatever it may be, just know that in some way, shape, or form, that energetic frequency is never lost or destroyed. So this is a conservation of that energy. This is you speaking life into what you want your new foundation to be. I watched something earlier today that said, and by earlier, I mean at like 6:45 in the morning. Don't ask me why I was up that early on a Sunday. It just, welcome to Flare Life. However, I really like the point that was made, which is that you get to a point where you are a teenager, so you think you know everything, so you just spout everything off at the hip, right? Which is why teenage energy is just so erratic. I'm living with that right now. Then you have, you get to your 20s and up, like 20s, 30s, and you especially in your 20s, you feel like you're a little entitled to being able to say the things, because I'm grown now. But then you get to a different level, and I really wish that I would have saved this video, so I could have shared it with you all. I apologize. It was on Instagram. Now, I don't want to take credit for somebody else's words, and I like to credit people's stuff. But just know this was a video I saw on Instagram by a black male doctor, and he said that his patient explained to him they're 56, and that their family feels like they're just ghosting them because they're choosing to be quiet. But there's this level of maturity that you hit at a certain point in life. You reach it, and you're just like, there's no point in me saying anything, because why would I argue with you? It's going to disturb my peace. And if it disturbs my peace, it doesn't need to be said, because it's not worth it. You're going to do what you want to do anyway, and then what's going to change? So that goes back to the conservation in the sense of knowing. Capricorn also is linked to retirement age, right? So maybe you're at a point in your life where you're retiring yourself from having to save everybody else. Because that is one thing that has always baffled me when it comes to them saying that Christ was born in December. There's an actual, during the pandemic, this was actually a thing that was on Facebook. There was a couple of groups, and there's a meme about it. I was like, Jesus couldn't have been a Capricorn, because a Capricorn is not about to go in and die for everybody else. This is not a group project. This thing called life to them is just like, yo, you do your thing, I do mine. So, now it always makes me chuckle. And I showed that to my husband, who was a Capricorn, and he was just like, you damn right. So, maybe you're no longer being the martyr and dying on the cross for everybody. Maybe you recognize, like, yo, they gotta sit there and skin their own knee. I'm not getting involved. I'm not doing that. Maybe you've reached that maturity within yourself where you're just like, I'm not taking this crap off of myself anymore. Like, there are boundaries that are now about to be set. We're not doing this bullshit anymore. I actually just had a conversation with a friend yesterday about that. And shout outs to her, because she's making some bold moves, and I'm super proud of her for that. So happy to see her shining. And even, I want to say this, going back to Capricorn energy, loving you enough to tell you when you fuck up, but loving you enough to also offer a solution. Just because you may stumble, just because you scrape your knee, just because you may embarrass yourself, just because you may feel some shame around something that you did because it's counter to who and what you feel that you are, or it goes against, you went against yourself in a moment. That's a second. The question is, who are you in the pivot? Who are you when it's time for you to actually shift move in a different direction, and learn from that occurrence? Who are you when that misstep needs to be reincorporated as a lesson? You know, I recently told somebody, like, we're too grown to be ugly about something. Like, it's not have to be ugly. We just need to recognize, like, this ain't it. You know? And you can have that same moment with yourself. I know I do regularly. All right, sis, look, like, this ain't it. So what's the next step? Right? I recently was trying to talk myself out of doing something that's pretty big, and I literally had to look myself in the mirror and just be like, what happens if you don't do it? Okay, now what happens if you do actually do it? What? You get denied, you get declined, it doesn't happen, it doesn't move forward. Okay, you're right back where you were. And you don't have to worry about, I didn't try. So, with this Capricorn full moon energy, the other thing I will tell you is that it's going to ask you to call into question your own ability to use your backbone. If you speak something into existence, if you breathe life into something, you're saying this is going to be my new foundation, or this is how I'm course correcting. You have to give yourself the opportunity to stick with it long enough to see if it works. Now, scientifically speaking, we're told that it takes 21 days to make or break a new habit. I'm going to tell you it takes up to 90 to 120 days. Why? Because that's the cycle of a red blood cell. I like to do things, and it seems extreme, but hold on. I am having a flare up, so I'm going to be human. Boom! Even with the flare up, I remember my science. Yeah, 90 to 100 days, 120 days. So, if you want to make sure that this thing called cell memory doesn't get the better of you, right? Which is the theory that everything that you do is stored within your cells on a molecular level, right down to your mitochondria, which is why you use mitochondrial DNA, which is the powerhouse of any cell, right? You use the mitochondrial DNA to link mother and child. Okay? So the maternal DNA is best accessed in the mitochondrial DNA, which means that your powerhouse, whether you like her or not, is linked to her powerhouse. Okay? Ooh, that explains a lot about my son's fiery nature right now. A whole lot about my household right now. That being said, sometimes you gotta upgrade the power source, right? That means, sure, you can do like a liver detox during this time, because liver is the reservoir of blood in Chinese medicine, which means, and holds true in conventional medicine, the majority of your blood reserves are stored in your liver, believe it or not. So whenever somebody has insomnia in Chinese medicine, we always want to do something to help restore liver blood, right? Many people who suffer from insomnia, believe it or not, also have issues with anemia a lot of the time. Be any form, B12, iron, all the things, right? So we want to do things that are going to help with the liver. Sometimes that means things like dandelion root tea. That means things like hibiscus, red raspberry. That may mean working with the heart meridian as well, and using things like hawthorn or tart cherry. Excuse me, there are options. But that's another reason why that's such an important organ system for Capricorn, because, you know, you've ever heard the term lily-livered? Well, your liver in Chinese medicine is supposed to be soft. You know, there are many TCM, I guess, for lack of a better way of explaining them with my flare up, proverbs that actually say, you know, like, I love you with all my liver, right? And Occidental world, so Western world, we say I love you with all my heart. But in many Asian countries, they're like, well, why would you love somebody with all your heart? The heart is always pumping blood away, right? The liver is full of blood, so you would want that to be the case. Well, the liver also has a lot to do with detoxification of the body, right? So if you're wanting to make a break or habit, you want to make sure that you are taking in the right foods during this period in order to purge a lot of that stuff. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and take laxatives or anything like that. Things like Reiki, things like deep breathing, deep belly breathing. You know, I always say 50 deep breaths a day. Keep a whole lot away. Moderate, low impact exercise. I know I used to be a person who loved her HIIT exercises and all those things, but I'm learning less is more. Trust me, physical therapy is kicking your girl's butt. But I'm getting really toned. It's awesome. Pilates, yoga, going on walks in nature, right? If you're in a space where you can actually go walking and be barefoot, that would be amazing, right? And ground that shit out. Those are all really great ways for you to kind of reset and to start purging. Even gardening. I don't know about y'all, but whenever I'm gardening, even on my balcony, like lifting dirt and moving pots around and repotting things, and you use a lot more than what you recognize. So give yourself 3 months to 4 months to truly see that cycle come through. All right. 21 days to make or break a habit, but I always say it takes 190 to 120 days to really like see it sustained. If you can do it that long, then hey, right? Because 21 days is 3 weeks, and it's willpower, right? It's willpower, and willpower is great. But willpower can sometimes breed a shit ton of anxiety. The question is there discipline? Is there structure around this? Is there a way of life that this now has blossomed into? So keep those things in mind. Lastly, with this Capricorn full moon, the full moon historically for a lot of people is a really great opportunity for people to call something. It's the culmination. So it's the moon is at its fullest, and they say if you want to bring something forth, you want to watch it grow in power, you do it. You call it in during a new moon, and if you want to watch something go away, you can do it during the full moon. I always say during the full moon, if you want stuff to wash away, that's fine. But a full moon to me is about wiping the slate clean, and it's a new beginning. I know that there are people who say it's the inverse. I'm just telling you what has worked for me on my side of the multiverse. The full moon is a time where you have an opportunity to see yourself in totality and situations around you. So use its light to see into the depths of yourself, the depths of others, get down to the nitty gritty. Do not be afraid of any forms of transition, aka death right now. It's the death of your ego and the reemergence of a healthier, more sustainable, and hopefully happier version of yourself. Got any questions, comments, or concerns? Drop them below. Love and kisses. I am off to go stuff my face with something to eat for breakfast. Or brunch at this point. Keep your gazes forward, y'all. And remember, show up as you are. You're dope as fuck regardless.